Okay. Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the UK Skype. Pierce won't be joining us this week, because unfortunately his father has passed on, but he says he'll hopefully catch up with us next week with Peter and Gwen. So I welcome you all, Duane and Ava and everybody to the Skype, and I shall begin by passing the mic over to Peter.
Hello again, everybody. Peter here. Just three things to discuss now, if that's okay. Couple of dreams that I've had, first of all. One I had only this week. Seems very uneventful, but I thought I'd mention it anyway because I didn't really understand it. And that is, I was driving my car, well, stuck in a traffic jam, actually, in the middle of a huge traffic jam. Cars in all directions, all over the place. There weren't sort of any logical roads. It was almost like a huge roundabout without the island in the middle. Cars were all around me, and something told me to get out of the car and lock it up and go away. So I promptly did that, and as I did that, the cars all started moving. So that was it, really. I mean, it doesn't sound very much, but it seemed so odd that I thought I'd mention it, and perhaps Duane could throw some light on it, please.
Yes, Peter, were you holding up traffic?
No more than anybody else. I was just sort of stuck in the middle with like loads of other cars all around me in all directions. I don't think I was particularly the one causing any problems.
Yeah, well, again, we're all in the traffic jam here, aren't we? So, yes, you got out of the car and then the traffic started to move, your car too?
No, my car didn't move. No, just everybody else's. They were just starting to move, and then the dream ended, so they hardly moved. But mine didn't move at all.
Okay. Well, gee whiz. It's really very simple, but I'm not sure. Okay.
Oh, right, okay. Moving on quickly, then I'll go to the next dream. This one is a bit more interesting, well, it is to me anyway, because I had this dream actually about months ago, actually, and I sort of put it on the back burner because I didn't think anything much of it, but suddenly it became very interesting as recently as yesterday, in fact. I'll explain that in a minute. But the dream itself seems like nothing, another sort of nothing dream, but basically I was standing talking to somebody outside in some big area of no great significance, and I was aware of these strange animals in the background, quite big animals, big black things, unlike anything I'd really got experience of had seen before. Best thing I can describe them as looking like is there used to be, well, when I was a kid I was interested in prehistoric animals quite a lot, and I always remember there was a thing called a Belushitherium, which is a mega-sized mammal from, I think, the Oligocene time, which was probably the biggest land mammal that's supposed to have ever lived, a great big herbivorous thing. It was actually, its closest living relative is apparently the rhino, but it didn't have horns, but it had a head, going by the pictures that were painted of it, of course, it had a head much like a rhino, and a sort of horse-like neck, and then this huge body, and then four great pillars of legs, and it was apparently 18 feet tall, and as such therefore as tall as a giraffe, but instead of being a skinny thing with a long neck, it was a great big thing, as I say, on four big legs. The thing is, these look like that, except they couldn't see the legs. It was as if they were immersed up to the bellies. In other words, it was like the backs and the neck and the head. But I didn't take a lot of notice of it, and we carried on talking to this other person. I don't know what we were talking about, and that was the end of the dream. Well, that seems like absolutely nothing. But only yesterday, I'm still waiting for my Wagner book to come, and while I wait for that, I picked up a book I'd half read and put down some months ago to read your book 6. And thought, well, I'll start reading this again for the moment. And I came across this, it's actually a book by a well-known author in this country, anyway, I don't know if you know him over there, called Graham Hancock, who writes lots of books about these sort of things, and it's actually called Supernatural, and it's quite a mega book, about 800 pages, and it's got its theme basically was the bit I've read so far, which is about a third of it, is all to do with it's going to visit other levels and things, either by means of psychedelic drugs or other means. African tribes have sort of been involved in this sort of weird dances and things. And in fact, I read a few pages of it. I turned the page, and it's got quite a lot of sort of what are obviously pen and ink drawings in this book of cave paintings going back thousands of years in Africa and South America and wherever. And this particular one comes from Africa, and it was supposed to be a rain animal apparently, and it looked exactly like these things that I saw in this dream. In the picture of this thing, you could see it was in water. It got sort of ripples around it, so it's obviously had legs, but you couldn't see them. Just whereas in my dream, we were on solid land, and these things seemed to be sort of moving around as if they were in water, and yet there wasn't any water, which seemed a bit strange, but there you are. So that's what they sort of look like, and it seemed rather odd that apparently these rain animals are quite familiar in cave paintings, and they're believed to be what people see when they go, I suppose, into the astral plane, by reason of these either drugs or whatever. And I just wondered, well, it seemed a very odd coincidence, let's put it that way, that for some reason I'd seen these things I'd never seen before, and then within weeks I was reading about the things these are things that are regularly, or were sometimes regularly, seen by other people out of the body.
Well, when you're out of the body, you see all kinds of things, and that is that on the here, you just even here, there's so many things you haven't seen, and the other worlds, the astral, especially the astral world, because we're very familiar with it. You're going to see all kinds of things, and at one time, these creatures were here or whatever, but and transform back and forth. So you're just getting your experiences. You're just getting different viewpoints is what you are. So, but you did your research, and so that's the whole idea too. It prompted you to do some research, so you figured it out. And this is the whole idea of the new presentation too, as people read the material to do some research to figure this out. Yeah. And on your first experience, I was just kind of kidding there. I just wanted to see what you'd say. You were just it's like you were in the masses or the flow of traffic, which is stopped. Basically, things are, and you removed yourself. That's the real you, and the experience ended. So you just simply removed yourself from that flow. It's very simple, really. But you're going to have all kinds of experiences. They're going to show you all kinds of things. I go through that too. Everybody does. And a lot of funny stuff and odd things, because it doesn't align itself with our personal view here. Just to get alternate viewpoints. And realistically, these things that we experience, they're just different body types. That's all they are. And it's how we see them. And, eventually, it's learning to see us as all beings of light in the reality, this isness. But in the meantime, we're looking at the landscape that we're experiencing in many different areas to wake up and get out of this personal self also. So you're getting experiences that seem odd, but again, watch yourself as you come back to this personal self and how you relate to it. Most of the time you relate to it like, oh, gee, that's a funny experience. And, oh, I'm so glad to be back on Earth. I'm in my body and everything is normal, you see. And that's what it's been for lifetimes when life is trying to get you outside of yourself, you see. So it's using that as an example. Because, again, everything in creation is something to go through to eventually recognize the is. And it just depends upon how you relate that. It's just a different form is all it is, like cars. It's all the same bent metal. It's just they appear differently. But it's how you relate to it and recognize it, you see, and how you can, from that, it's little pieces to recognize the isness life is. And for the most part, most people have no relationship with that because they don't know about the is. But first you know about the is, Now you figure out how to do that. So see, you did your homework, you studied, you went and found out that these things were here and such and such and such. Well, okay, fine. And we call it history, and it was here or whatever, just like the ancient astronauts. But realistically, it's all to recognize the is, and most people don't get that yet, especially on this planet. This is a warring planet, controlling planet, and all they're interested in is control and not reality, because we are all free beings of real light. Just have to recognize each other like that. So you're just getting little pieces there, young man.
Right, okay. Thanks for that. Sort of moving on from there in a way, not dreams as such, but other sort of odd experience I've sort of had, particularly recently. A number of occasions over the last few months, I suppose, and one quite as recently as this week. I've sort of been aware of things out of the corner of my eye, and then looked, and there's nothing there. And they usually sort of what I would call sort of dog-sized things. And I wondered if, in fact, they were ghosts of our previous dogs. But I have it on good authority from people in this room that apparently that can't be the case. But I wonder if it is.
Did you say dogs?
Yeah, dogs.
Okay, well, it's interesting. So you kind of see how that is, and just like people have guard dogs, there can be there's predators there, you might say. They can be. You just have to see how they are. You can confront them. But I see that too. I see different forms to the left and right. That's your so-called your peripheral vision. And it's not you're not looking through, it's interesting that blind people can still see. You look at Stevie Wonder as an example. Many people know Stevie Wonder, the famous singer. Okay, you notice, and Ray Charles did the same thing. He's an old singer, made a lot of records. Okay, and they're good examples because you see them on film. Now, you'll notice that they move their head up and around most of the time. Most of the time, their head is back, and it's like they're looking up, okay, because they cannot see through the lens, which is straight on. That's the lens of your physical eye, and when something happens to that, you still have your peripheral vision. So what they're doing is when they're moving their head around to the left and right, you'd think, oh, they're just kind of in rhythm with their music or whatever. But no, realistically, they're looking around with their peripheral vision, you see. That's the real view. That's your real awareness seeing. And it sees through the lens of the eye, too. But when it can't see, it can still see. Now, if you remove the head, you'd have a 360-degree view. So your peripheral vision, the real you, is seeing things that the lens of the eye cannot see, you see?
Right, okay. Slightly moving on from there, I've also sort of had experiences, I think mostly either when I'm just about sort of dozing off or I'm just sort of waking up. And I gather this is not uncommon, but seeing sort of odd, very difficult to describe things, and you sort of go to sort of try and grasp them sort of mentally, and then they've gone, and you can't think what on earth was all that about. And 2 examples of that I've had in the last week or so. There was one where I think I was just sort of waking up, and I was suddenly aware in my sort of mind of this sort of brown-shaped ball. I suppose like what we'd call a rugger ball. I think you'd call it an American football, this sort of shape. And then it was gone, and I thought, well, what on earth was that there for? And then more recently, in the last couple of days, in fact, as again a similar experience at the same sort of time. And there was some big sort of card, like a business card, only much bigger. And I went to sort of grasp it, and then that had gone. And I thought, again, what on earth's that all about? And is there any significance to this at all, or is it just some strange figment of my imagination?
Well, you can think of it any way you want, but many times these are things that they're. It's just like you have things around the house, okay? and you have a calendar and things like that. You have things that you're going to be doing or whatever. And so this could be, the business card could be as just a demonstration of someone you're going to meet, as an example. All of a sudden you meet somebody, or you're doing a business deal, and there's the card. Maybe you didn't notice it in the physical, but these are just little flashes because they're in your world, things that are happening, etc. So again, these are many times possibilities too. Many times they are. I see them with myself. I see that things show up, and they're possibilities. And you decide to look further or whatever. I get impressions and I see things, and then I many times create something from that. It's a possibility. Life is showing you things, and so it's showing you many things. And it's it's kind of like when you were young and your parents said, okay, let's go to school, or let's go somewhere, the play yard, and okay, what do you want to do? You want to go on the swings? You want to go on the roundabout? You want to do on the slide? Whatever. In other words, you're being shown certain things, and you kind of decide what you want to do, etc. Or you just do what you've always done. You've already developed your routines. Again, you compare. You've developed your routines. Okay, just like what we're doing with this Skype. This becomes a routine. And will we do this until your life ends, or will there be something else that you'll bring in to see more, to get a better view of the whole of life? Because life is about itself, and we are in life. This is real. And what we're experiencing here are little tiny pieces, and we decide how we're going to put this together to recognize what life is, you see, from what it isn't. So you're going to constantly get these things because you're in creation, and it can be, again, it can be something coming up, or it can be a possibility that even part of yourself or the guides or life is offering to you to take a look at. You decide, you see. So again, I don't know what your life is, Peter. So if you're, let's say you're an insurance guy and you're out there selling insurance, and you see a business card, well, the business card could mean that there's a deal coming along, but it's how you work the deal, you see. Same with the football, whatever. Maybe the wife wants to go to the soccer game and you don't know it yet. She hasn't told you, whatever.
Right, okay. I'd rather deal with the latter, but okay, thanks for that. Just one other thing I wanted to sort of bring up. This is more of a kind of a conundrum, really. I don't know whether there's any sense in it, but see what you think. I'm very interested in this idea that if there's enough agreement by people, either consciously or subconsciously, this can actually bring things into existence. I was wondering, in my sort of strange way, if the reverse could be true. In other words, if enough people sort of change their mind, if you like, about something, and some historical event, and it sort of went over the tipping point that more people disbelieved in it than believed in it formally, whether that would somehow change the course of history. I was just thinking of one sort of silly example that came to mind. Was, a while back in this country, we had a serial killer. You may not have heard of him over there, but he's a doctor, actually. He's apparently, on the face of it, this nice, charming old country doctor called Harold Shipman. And it turns out he was actually on the quiet over a period of many years in two different doctors' practices, was quietly bumping off dear old ladies for no obvious reason, and because once he eventually was caught, he committed suicide, so that they were never really able to find out why he did it, because it certainly didn't seem to be for personal gain, except I think in one possible the last case, just think why he got caught. But the point really is that I was wondering if having died, and then if he came back again in a future life in this world, and became aware of who he was and what he'd done, perhaps through hypnosis or whatever, and also if he'd become perhaps worked in the media industry, for example, and got well up and became a media mogul, and he was in a position to sort of get film companies and TV companies to bring out programs all about Harold Shipman, saying that he was innocent and it was all a mistake and these little old ladies all died naturally. If enough people sort of believed in it and changed their mind about him being probably one of the worst mass murderers in history, was that somehow would change history and it would, so it hadn't actually happened. And if that was the case, if he got away with it, what would happen about his karma?
That's a lot. Well, what makes sense? Okay, so is it a matter of what others believe, or is it a matter of what really happened? You see? So it's not about that. And it's not about people deciding, well, we want to change it. Well, what's cool about the business is that it's always now. So whatever a person's done, okay, they've done, all right? And they can deal with it or not or what have you. There's many ways to deal with it. And so, yeah, and things can be created a particular way or believed a particular way. Well, what this does then, it creates another dimension, you see? And it can create another, you get enough people going, even one person, it creates another dimension to where those people are in that dimension. And it's like, oh, gee, that never happened, you see? But they've created another dimension. But in the dimension it did happen, it really did happen, you see? Things make sense. Well, what people don't see is how they create another position. Again, just like this world, everybody has their idea of things here. It's their personal idea, and there's a many types of mass consciousness, but there's an overall basic consciousness that people accept, which holds it to this dimension. But at the same time, people are going in and out of other dimensions and creating other dimensions for themselves that they don't realize, because for the most part they relate it to this one here. So something that happened actually in this dimension, because they're really kind of endless ones, even in creation. It just goes on and on and on, and there's more created all the time. It's just continually created. And that doesn't really matter so much. It does, but it doesn't. It is, if you get caught up in that continually, well, then you're with it. But if you let go, well, it's like, just like in your garden where you water flowers, eventually it just kind of goes away on its own, because that's how creation is. It just vaporizes. As it's left alone, it just vaporizes into nothing. So, again, what took place, okay, it's all you can say is it's okay. In other words, it's not that we're agreeing to that, oh yeah, this guy killing people is okay. The idea is that let it be, start new, instead of trying to fix the old ways. You see this in the movies where they go into the past and want to fix the past, thinking that it's going to fix the present. That doesn't make sense. What they'll do is they'll actually go into another dimension thinking that it's all fixed. But in the movies, they'll show, oh, gee, the present's all fixed. But realistically, they'd be in another dimension. They wouldn't be in this dimension here because, again, unless people decide to actually, clean things up or whatever, it's really not going to happen. So, these things are along the lines of magic. All right. And when people get involved with these things, they're just actually creating more phenomena is all they're doing. I know it seems a little complicated, but it's really very simple. In other words, you're born into this life. So you basically, the basic idea is you think this is reality. And you basically think, well, this is the only reality there is. But it's not. It's only how you see it. And how you've agreed to it. That's it. And so there's many ways to agree to things in creation. You can go all over creation, and but you don't have to. It's all here and now. You can create your own worlds, and everybody does. You're already creating your own worlds by what you see and think, but at the same time, your body is in this world here, you see? So when you're moving into the past, into time, if you do the time travel thing, which is all here and now, your body is still in this world here. It is, and you're thinking, oh, my mind is somewhere else. Well, actually, it's your awareness that is moving about and experiencing other positions that already exist. Now, you can manipulate those positions, and you can make them look exactly like this world, and then you can change it into anything you want, and thinking that, oh, this is it, and then you can stay in that world too, etc. There's anything is possible, you see. So what we have here in the physical sense, what we know is this is just kind of a place to pivot from so that we have something to relate to as we explore the rest of life. So, people get these ideas, oh, we can go into the past and we can do this and change this and whatever, like those 3 movies called Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox, etc. Those are fun. And it can be so, but again, you're in another dimension. Not in this one, because all the people here that you see around you in the world, they're agreeing to this dimension right here. They're all agreeing to it. That's a huge agreement. You'd have to control their free will to get them agree to agree differently, you see? Because it's not just about what you decide, thinking that, oh, I want to make the world wonderful. Well, go ahead. A lot of people do that. They decide every day, oh, I want to just make the world wonderful. And they try to do certain things, or they think a certain way, or they pray to their gods. Doesn't happen, does it? Actually, the world gets worse simply because people don't consciously see what they're doing. It's not about, oh, I want this or I want that. You have a lot of free will out there. And even if it's one other person, that's a lot. But you're talking about 8 billion others. They got a lot of free will going all the time. So, yeah, this dimensional stuff and all the interest there, it seems very interesting. But you just become more caught up in the matrix is all it is. It's better to recognize the real universes, and then you'll oversee creation, and you won't be the effect of it. So that gives you a little idea. Was there something else to that one?
Not really. I think actually I rather thought that probably was the situation, and it wasn't really feasible. And it's interesting what you're saying about. It sort of brings up all the ideas of parallel universes and things. And it does actually remind me of a film I saw years ago, some science fiction film, which sort of makes the point, I think, as these people went back in time supposedly to sort of times of dinosaurs, and they had this kind of a platform thing that came out of their ship, and in no uncertain terms must they touch anything or do anything, because it's going to change the future if you do. And so they're very careful to do this. But when they went back in the ship, they didn't notice. I think it was a butterfly or something flew in. And when they got back to theoretically their own time, the whole world had changed, and their country was now a fascist sort of Orwellian nightmare, like we're looking forward to as it is now, apparently. But and I think that really makes the point, doesn't it? That's over all those millions of years, just one little tiny thing changing something has such an effect. It sort of sets up a whole kind of a new ball game. Okay, well, that's really interesting. Thanks very much for that. I think you've heard enough from me.
Peter, let me just say that, so again, you have the movies, and movies are phenomena, okay? And they're from black to white magic is what they are. Again, you look at the indigenous people, did they have movies and all these things? No, they didn't. This is a phenomena that's created here, and so we relate to this as some kind of reality. Well, it is. It's like creating cyberspace. It is. But what they're doing is that they're manipulating the situation accordingly, and you're the viewer, so they're also manipulating you as the viewer, which you just think it's entertainment. See, when you go to the movies or watch something, this entertainment idea has been created to fool people, okay? It really has. This is what Disney did, created entertainment for the people, the movie industry, etc. They're all controlled by the cabal. It's to fool people into thinking that this is real. Why do you think there's so many fans that people follow movie stars and whatever and icons, etc.? They've gotten people to see to follow a phenomena that exists to control them. It's just another control device. And yeah, I enjoyed the movies too, but for the most part, I put it into documentary mode. In other words, I want to see what I can figure out from this movie, if there's something there. And the movies are good examples of things. But at the same time, see, what they're doing is they're manipulating the situation. All of a sudden, see, you remember that and you relate to that. Gee, as if I time traveled and we got a butterfly caught in the spaceship, is that going to change all of, etc.? Well, again, they get you to think along certain lines, to see things along certain lines. They throw those little things in there, you see, and all of a sudden, after a while, you're not stable anywhere. As you look at this world, where is it that anybody really allows you to really understand what creation is? You can't find it because it's all full of distortion, and you just chase distortion. We're the only ones that are showing people how to figure it out. Otherwise, you stay in creation. Again, most people think creation is the ultimate. It is not. It is a phenomena that's created to learn from. That's realistically it. As you put it in that mode, instead of being in the mode that, oh, this is my life, this is what I am, and, till death do me part, etc. So again, you establish these ideas with yourself, and you're given the opportunity now to see more than just what you've always thought, because you've been here, untold lifetimes, thousands upon thousands of lifetimes and more, thinking the same things. You see, now you have a chance to decide to see more and figure it out, because it's taking you this long to get here. And again, this is where most people they're not paying attention, and life makes sense once you start to get the grasp of as you look around and see all this environment. Okay, yes, it's of a particular, but does it really make sense? What could life really be? And actually, life is a perfectness, is what it is, but not according to the appearance of things here, because things here are not perfect. So does it make sense that even with nature in its natural form, without being disturbed, is it perfect? No, it's cause and effect. Does that make sense? And so this is where the sun shining does make sense, because it represents reality. But of course, it can't be reality, because that's got to be seen from a real awareness and recognized. So in the meantime, this is what you're going through, plus all these acrobatic ideas, and plus now that the world controllers, the deceptors, the cabal have gotten hold of all this stuff, which they have for the longest time. They don't see past themselves, so their whole thing is to control others to support them, you see. So that's the matrix you're in. But you decide, just like your first experience, you walked away from the traffic jam, you see. And the traffic is moving again, okay, you walked away. But moving to where? And really, if you saw the whole picture, you'd see they're going nowhere. The masses are going nowhere. They're just going somewhere, but it's just basically into darkness. You've just simply removed yourself from the jam. You see, that's the real you, because you decided to do that. And now it's time to explore. So these things that you've been experiencing through the, again, people watch TV or the media, they see the 6 o'clock news, they see a movie on TV, or they watch a series on TV, they think, oh, gee, that's how life is, that's this is that, or this is how we're born, or whatever, and we have relatives and all these things. You decide all that, you agree to it, and then there's the idea that, gee, if you don't, you don't have feelings, you're heartless, you're all these other things, it's etc. You see, to where you're to feel guilty if you're not a certain way or something like that. Yeah, it's a lot to go through to understand, isn't it? Yes, but that's where you're at. You have this chance. So, as you go through this matrix, it's like Alice in Wonderland. You're always the decider. You always decide at what moment, how do you want to see what is real? You see? And actually, it's invisible, because it's a recognition. But you decide how you're going to relate to it. But in the meantime, you collect a lot of information and knowledge that seems to be something, don't you? And it does in its own way, but only as a reference. But if you make it a reality, then it's your reality. It becomes so, you see?
Right, okay, thank you very much once again, Duane.